Alright, hey folks. So this is going to be another game, and before I start, I actually have a couple things that I have to talk about and get out of the way before beginning. So this computer, the computer that you're looking at right now, which is the one that I use to record, has decided to stop playing League of Legends. So I can record videos on this computer, and I can play League of Legends on my laptop, but I can't record League of Legends. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm actually going to be doing another cast of a pro game using a spectator video. This game is going to be between Epik Gaming and Team Solo Mid, and it's going to be the MLG Providence Winners Bracket Finals Game 1. I know nothing about this game, I don't know who won or anything, so we're going to be doing this completely cold casting just for see how things shape up, and we learn a lot about this as we walk through the game. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim lately, so I haven't been doing as many videos. Anyways, I've got the game loaded up here. We don't, unfortunately, have the picks or bans yet, so I'm just going to talk about the teams as I can see them before we start. This is post-Fizz patch, so it's with the new masteries and everything, which I haven't gotten a chance to talk about. Just going to real quick check everyone's summoners. So we're seeing 10 Flash, we see 2 Ignite on each team, so that's interesting. Some very aggressive play there, and CV and Exhaust. So just very, no teleports this game, but very aggressive play. Otherwise pretty standard. These picks are really interesting to me, so we're seeing a couple heroes that we don't see that much, like Ezreal and Leblanc. So I imagine that TSM has some sort of very specific plan for this lineup. I think Leblanc is probably pretty good against Swain, so I suspect that they picked Leblanc to counter that Swain. Ezreal is a pick that I'm not sure about. I mean, Ezreal's not bad, but he just doesn't do as much damage as the other AD carries. So we're going to have to see what Chaox has in store for us. Just introducing the players real quick. I'm sure they need no introduction for most people watching, but on Epik Gamer we have Dinh, Salce, Westrice, Dyrus, and Nhat Nguyen, and on TSM we have Chaox, actually I should say Dinh playing AD carry, which is actually interesting. That's not who he usually plays, so far as I've seen. Salce on AP, Westrice on top solo, Dyrus in the jungle, and Nhat Nguyen on support. And on TSM we have Chaox on AD carry, Xpecial on support, TheOddOne in the jungle, Reginald on AP mid, and TheRainMan on the solo top. I'm a big fan personally of Chaox's live stream. I find that he gives very insightful commentary, and you can actually check out all of these players and several of these players stream at Solo Mid owned TV Solo Mid. There is sound in this video, so we're turning that off. In general, I feel like the Sona Ezreal lane is probably going to lose to the Grave Soraka lane. I feel like Udyr is a faster jungler and has slightly better ganks than Skarner, but Skarner is going to be more valuable in the late to mid-late game. Both of these heroes scale very well. And Akali and Leblanc are actually very similar in that they both require snowball. They both need to snowball very heavily in order to be effective. So both teams are going to be looking for early victories and early kills in order to get what they want. So let's start things rolling. We're immediately I try to click on the mini map because I can't see what's going on. Looks like the caster's following TheRainMan, just checking his items and stuff. Everyone's items seem quite standard. They're doing some interesting roaming here. No wards have been placed down. Oh, no, that ward has been placed down there. I'm sorry if you can't see the the map very well. The resolution on this video is not as high as I would like, but you take what you can get because this is obviously a copied live stream. Both AD carries have Doran Blades. Both both forts have wards and pots and a fairy charm. You know, all the solos have boots pots. Actually, interestingly, Swain running like 1 million health pots, so he's expecting to be harassed by Leblanc very heavily, which is undoubtedly true. So that's actually an interesting setup. And the deviation in junglers is that Udyr doesn't need 5 pots, so he can grab a ward. We're immediately seeing this top lane. I expect that Akali has a slight advantage against Teemo, except that if Teemo can blinding dart her as she goes in, like if RainMan's very fast, and we know that he's very fast. Yeah, you see it right there that Graves takes 0 damage from Soraka from Sona because of his passive plus Soraka's armor buff. Like Sona just blew her whole load on him and it didn't work at all. Didn't do anything. TheOddOne, interestingly, going back for the wolf camp. I actually didn't catch what happened there, but that's an odd jungle route. Yeah, and once again, Dinh getting harassed and just tanking it because Graves' passive is ridiculously overpowered. Both teams are going to be playing it quite safe for the early game. We haven't seen any ganks yet. We haven't seen any aggressive jungle warding. Neither jungler has red, so that's when the game usually starts heating up. Akali doing some pushing here. I wish we could have game sounds without the casters. This format leaves a lot to be desired, but that's Riot's fault for not having real replays. TheOddOne about to take red. Interestingly, Dyrus spacing because he got that ward there. Picking up some boots, so he'll have boots for the first gank. I don't know if TheOddOne is planning to take red and then base with a cleared jungle, or if he's planning to push, go immediately for a gank. Looks like he's going to go immediately for a gank, or just take that wolf camp. Unfortunately for him, it's very hard to gank Akali. Although I think he probably should have, given how far she's pushing up. It's just that Teemo adds more or less nothing to that gank, because between them, neither of them have a disable before Skarner 6. And Teemo doesn't have a slow, so he can get some damage in. But that's it. You can see Ezreal leading very slightly in CS. Yeah, actually all the lanes are quite even. Overall, TSM has a very slight CS lead. Which is actually interesting because I would have expected this lane to be leading. So I guess Dinh just making just missing some creeps basically. See RainMan sitting invis there. It's actually quite clever. You can just sit invis in the middle of your creeps and then wait to get those last hits. I do like that we get to see the gold pop up on everyone's heads in the spectator mode. That's a really nice feature. And we see Skarner coming top for a gank. Westrice backing way up. I think he should still have gone for that. If he'd run this path, I think he could still have forced a summoner. But I guess they didn't know he wasn't backing up all the way. Looks like Dyrus is going to maybe try to gank mid, but I don't think he can. Leblanc is a very safe mid with that blink and her chain. And it's often, especially against something like a Swain, that you gank the Leblanc and she can burst him down once you hit 6, which she's not quite yet. So you can often just burst down the target and then still blink out. Because you have to put yourself behind often in damage in order to set up a gank, which against the Leblanc leaves you very vulnerable. We're seeing actually that Epic Gaming is taking a slight gold lead, and that is just because Dyrus is quite ahead in his jungle speed here, primarily, and they're taking a small CS lead on top lane and mid lane as well, both of which are to be expected. I just think that in general their lanes are much better. EG's lanes are much better, and I think that that's showing. We're hitting around 7 minutes, so now we have finally some action. Where Dyrus runs into Leblanc and foils her attempt to go top to gank. And actually they may be able to pick off Udyr here if Skarner misses his slow. That was a good bear stance by Dyrus. He timed that perfectly to give him the small burst of speed just as the slow wore off and just before Skarner was able to get his second slow off. Clever blink by Reginald over the wall there. Reginald is sort of a perfect fit for Leblanc. There's definitely going to be some deaths here. I foresee... Wow. Alright, wow. I was actually strongly expecting... yeah, okay. Yeah, I was definitely expecting TSM to win that engagement. But they didn't. Just went 2 for 2. And that's... because they left 2 bottom, so they actually, in the end that was a 4v3 for them, and they still went 2 for 2, so Graves is missing a lot of farming time during this. Luckily for EG, he's getting to pick that up mid. And a moment of incoherency there while I was watching that fight go on. Some pretty good last hitting by Soraka there. It's so hard to last hit with Soraka. And Westrice playing very safe and just hanging back because Teemo has that red. And they're TSM clearing wards, and actually they're just going to go for it. This is going to be an interesting one. They have numbers advantage and there's no teleports. Yeah, they're going to get this dragon really easily, and that will put them quite a bit ahead. You see the gold skyrocket up to from them being about 500 behind to them being about a K ahead. Just really good identification of when they could take that dragon. Clear the ward, and Udyr and Swain were both out of position up here getting Swain in blue. Amazingly, even though Graves missed all that farming time running up there, running up that way, he's still holding quite even with Chaox. Man, I just am failing at talking right now. It's one of those things that happens to you when you start casting, is that sometimes your mouth just doesn't work. Like, you have all the words in your head, but they just don't come out. It's very difficult. Dyrus doing getting that red, so that'll make him able to be aggressive there. It's interesting that TSM have decided to give TheRainMan those reds, especially if he's not going to be ganking with them or forcing fights while he has them, or they're not going to force fights while he has them. It's just to give him that lane advantage, which he needed because he was falling behind. But he's actually, because of that red, been able to catch up. Unfortunately for TSM, Akali has both of EG's kills, and if Akali gets early kills, she can get out of hand very, very quickly. She's well on the way to the Gunblade. Only really important items that have been finished are Akali's spells amp, which is very helpful to her in the lane, and that Wriggles on Ezreal. Wriggles on Ezreal is gonna vastly outdamage and out-sustain that just the Madrid's Razor on Graves, so Graves is gonna have to base for his Wriggles at some point fairly soon. We are also seeing that TSM, because they had better back timing after that dragon and after pushing out, have managed to complete their gold per 5 on the support much earlier, because they got a dragon and then they were able to back. And that's actually, it's really easy to overlook how big of an advantage that earlier gold for 5 gives your support. Getting an early Aegis or Shurelia's can help you win. It doesn't look like, yeah, there's no vision ward, so Teemo should be able to, that's on TSM, that's TheOddOne's gank, but he gets CV'd, so he just pulls back. I was gonna say that TheRainMan could just invis to avoid that gank, but of course that was from his team. Looks like they're maybe gonna try something mid, but I think that Salce's just gonna play 2 defensively to allow that to happen. Graves just gonna, buckshot those creeps, making sure not to miss CS. It's interesting how aggressively he's throwing out that blind just to try to get Ezreal to miss CS. If you can cost them like 4 or 5 CS for that, and since it's basically free with a Soraka in the lane, then it's totally worth it. Seeing Dyrus just run through mid, no chance of getting that gank there. Although he might swing back around, and Skarner might swing around as well, so there could be an engagement here. Yeah, looks like they're going in, and they're going to get counter-ganked. Good just stun, but good flash ultimate, and the Soraka ult goes down, and I think Salce's going to die here. No, Westrice comes in at the last second, really good. Oh, and a beautiful double kill by EG, just transitioning Akali from top to mid. TheRainMan wasn't able to come, and that's what happens when you're pushing your lane, is that you can roam much more aggressively. So that swings this game right back into EG's favor. They're up in CS, and those 2 kills make up for that dragon that they lost. We're actually seeing the mid lane CS be very low for both teams compared to bottom lane, for example. I like that, a little bit of friendly chat across the teams. I don't actually know if he's telling the truth there when he says dragons at 16 or not. Either way, it's pretty funny. All of these guys obviously know each other very well, and a lot of them play together frequently. Several of them are good friends, I think, across these teams. We're seeing Ezreal will be going for his Triforce Phage first, so that's pretty standard. Oh, nice! Getting that, hidden damage on Dyrus with that blue. Unfortunately, they weren't quite able to get it, but forcing the exhaust from Ezreal, actually, because Akali showed up. That's really good. That's a nice free exhaust for them. No major items. Interestingly, Graves opting to grab that BS sword and probably finish the riddles off later. That's often what you do when you just find that you have that amount of gold, is you skip the riddles, because getting the damage is more important. EG making a push for dragon, and you can see that TheOddOne was in fact lying about the dragon time. And it looks like, yep, they'll get this dragon. Almost stolen by that Ezreal ult. Could have been really solid. That was an early smite by Dyrus, so... Oh, it looks like they're going to be able to pick off at least Swain here. Yeah, just Swain, though. And mid-turret. So that actually will help make up for that dragon. Getting this turret will keep them actually slightly ahead on gold. These numbers are sort of the most important, because this is a game of incremental advantage. This is like a strong indication of who is winning this game. Much stronger than this one. However, they do give up bottom turret for that, so... Now, obviously, items are actually like one of the best ways to tell who's winning this game. And then, of course, just who's winning. But we're seeing this Gunblade on Akali, and she's 4-0-0, so that's really nice. Having picked up every kill so far on that Akali. I have no doubt she's going to be man-building it up pretty soon. Seeing, interestingly, the cage pick here after 2 Dorans, so I'm expecting a DSG out of Leblanc. That's not that surprising. Keep clicking when I'm accidentally doing that. He's got the Bloodthirster first instead of the Wriggles. I don't know if he's actually going to finish this Wriggles. He might just hang on to that for the armor and the extra damage that it gives you in the minion proc. Now that he has the Bloodthirsters, finishing out the Wriggles is 600 gold for some free wards every once in a while, which is not bad, but there's often more important things to get. Like his next 600 gold are almost certainly going to go to attack speed boots. They've switched this out to total gold values. So we're actually seeing Teemo in quite a bank here. Salce, yep, as they're pointing out, basically no ability power, but lots of tanking. Very high magic resist. Both teams are probably going to start thinking about Baron pretty soon, since we're at 18 minutes, and they start having the damage. Yeah, you can see that ward going down there right away. Neither team has picked up an Oracles yet, so far as I can tell, so that's interesting. Usually teams get those a lot. Oh, never mind. I just hadn't seen Soraka in a while. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I would be surprised if they hadn't gotten an Oracles. I don't know if Sona has one, but I expect she probably does. Nope. Okay, so I actually like EG's position there with that Oracles. EG's decision with that Oracles a lot more than TSM's decision to not get that Oracles. I think that Oracles this early gives them a huge advantage. TSM's going to be able to, with just these 2 guys, pick off this top turret. And because EG is out of position, they can't do anything about that. Having this turret up and that turret not be up gives TSM a really good position on this Baron, but that Oracle's advantage makes it very hard for them to actually do that. There's no wards, but wow, okay. So they trade kills there. Okay, so the Oracles is on LeBlanc. Cool. So yeah. It's obviously so difficult for me when I can't check people's items properly. For major items, we don't see a Triforce yet on that Ezreal. We don't see a DSG yet. We do see Wit's End on both Teemo and Udyr. So EG has the item advantage. They've completed more important items. They have a Bloodthirster finished. They have a Gunblade finished. They have a Wit's End finished, compared to just a Wit's End really finished. In terms of powerful high-tier items. You see, Ezreal is falling behind a little bit on CS because he's had to engage in fights a little bit more, but he's going to be able to catch back up this wave compared to Graves, that is. Interestingly, they're leaving that ward in that brush, which is usually a ward that you see during the laning phase, but not often this late in the game, when teams are more flash farming than laning. One of the next really important items is going to be that Rylai's on the Akali. Once he gets both of those, he's going to be an enormous threat, especially to the rather squishy champions on the other team. Like this team does not have a lot of health because their AP solo is not a healthy character. And it's interesting also that they chose Leblanc to carry that Oracles, as well as to buy that Oracles, delaying her DSG. She is very hard to kill, what with the ability to blink 3 times. That makes any character quite difficult to kill. But usually you see the supports getting that so that the carries can get their important items soon, and I wonder if it's going to come back to bite them that they don't have that DSG yet. We see that the wriggles and the attack speed boots were both finished on Graves. That makes sense. His lifesteal is quite high now, which combined with his passive armor and magic resist, plus the passive magic resist and active armor from... this engagement could be quite bad for TSM. Okay, they're just going to take the free damage and back out. That makes a lot of sense. And they're trying not to get picked. This is all obviously innate of the dragon is up, and then both teams want it. I really want to look down there, but that's me pausing the video again. The casters are really focusing on TSM up here. We have red buff on Graves, and compared to red buff on Leblanc, not so good. I'd obviously rather have that on the AD carry than on the burst caster. Could be worse. It would obviously be worse on TheOddOne, I think. Just because he's not going to be able to get in there, and he already has that spammable slow. Not that red is bad on Skarner, just that you really want to be able to apply that to as many people as possible. Caster's just checking everyone's vision, which makes sense. It looks like TSM are just going to do the dragon. I really like this decision. I think they can force this fight quite profitably. Yeah, they're going to be able to take out this dragon because Akali was way out of position. Oh, the smite steal. Oh, really nice. They were not able to zone Udyr out far enough, and they had to back up from that, so they're not going to be able to push here, even with the Sona speed buff. That was a gorgeous smite steal. Yeah, they really needed to put more damage on the Udyr, especially from Teemo. Should have just been right-clicked on him, and he wasn't. He was sort of kiting back and forth. So that really hurts, I think. Westrice taking this opportunity to just farm up, trying to get as close as he can to the Rylai's. Reginald clearing wards at Baron. Again, both teams really want to keep those wards at Baron clear. Red is up for purple team, so they're probably going to try to get that on Ezreal soon. Ezreal is a really good hero to have red on because he can apply it with his Qs as well as his auto attacks. He's also finished his Triforce now and is going for that probably Bloodthirster next. Whereas Graves has a magic resist cloak, so I'm expecting to see a Quicksilver Sash out of him. Interestingly, Sona has gotten a Chalice as her third item after those gold per 5s. I guess just to live longer through Swain's AoE. Swain's got that rod, as does LeBlanc. So interestingly, she's going to be going Death Cap and not DFG. In which case the choice of getting Oracle surrendering her makes a lot more sense, because Death Cap can be a little more delayed and still be very effective, whereas DFG I think is an item that you want early. So they're going to be stealing this blue, and they're actually keeping red buff on Teemo rather than on... so that's really nice for them, getting that blue, rather than on Ezreal. But that's a big advantage for this next fight, having blue buff LeBlanc compared to no blue buffs on the other team. Blues are really important. They're probably the most important neutral camp in the game, like including the dragon. If you just think about how much the blue gives you, like it's 15% CDR, which is like 1.5k gold, plus infinite mana, which is like that, you can't even put a gold value to that. But it's a ridiculous amount of effective gold value on your team. And now EG is going to be stealing TSM's blue, and they're actually going to get it. Oh no, okay, Dyrus is pulling off it. Did he take that? No, okay, he left it. So he's pulling off the blue, and then they're going to be trying to defend this push. That was a really well-timed decision to push, because they knew that EG was trying to steal this blue. I'm really liking TSM's decision making here. They've got all of these mushrooms. They have this good ward coverage. So they have these easy retreat paths, and they're just identifying when to push and when to dragon really well. If it wasn't for that smite steal, they'd be way ahead. Even though they're losing in CS by actually a fairly significant margin. Interestingly, Sona has picked up a lot of CS comparatively for a support, so she's actually got very good items. I expect she'll grab a Shirelia's next, or maybe an Aegis. Funny to see them give TheRainMan that blue. I mean, having double blue is great, but you'd think they would. I would have expected to put that on Ezreal. I really like getting double buffs on Ezreal, personally. I think that's like one of the best reasons to pick him, is that he wears a double buff so well. But they seem to really like those buffs on Teemo, so that's an interesting one for me. Here we're getting a setup for an engagement. Akali is way out of position. Remember, there's no teleports in this game. Skarner may be able to... Oh, he could maybe have flash kidnapped that Graves and pulled him in, but I think Graves could just have blinked out. So they hit that mushroom. They're going to be able to take that ward out. Soraka back there clearing wards. I don't know if they didn't want to just go on that with Akali up there when she was. Now Teemo's going to have to go back top and clear the... No, they're not clearing creeps. He's just going to come mid to defend while Skarner split pushes. This makes a lot of sense, actually. They're going to give up all that farm top, but they're just going to get that turret. And Skarner's going to be in position for this fight. Actually, may be able to come in from behind and make something happen, like if he kidnaps Soraka at the beginning of the fight. No, okay, he's just going to loop around. I was really hoping he would go in from the back and kidnap Soraka and just try to run through, like maybe walk up, grab, and then flash over to the turret. And then they can blow up Soraka before she gets a chance to heal. Since she's very weak, if you can chain lock a Soraka down, which is very difficult, because if she gets even a second, then she can undo all the damage that you did. But it's just a huge advantage for your team if you get that. We see EG going for this dragon, and TSM coming in. Can they duplicate that smite steal? No, okay. So that's 3 dragons to 1 for EG. But general gold advantage in favor of TSM. I think in one of my more recent commentaries I called a smite steal that hadn't actually happened, and if that has happened to me again, I will feel really stupid. And that was like me. I was doing the oh nice, okay, flash kidnap, and then burst down the Swain instantly, even before he gets a chance to like alter Zhonya's, and you can see the crowd cheering like crazy there. That's really nice. So that's going to be a huge advantage for them. They can probably just take the Baron here. No, they're going to go for bot turret instead. They want 2 turrets instead of the Baron. I personally think without Swain there, they could just grab the Baron. I think that would have been a better decision. But 2 turrets is pretty darn good too. See Ezreal using that attack speed buff for the whole team, so they knock the turret down faster. If they thought that red buff was up, then that might have made more sense, because if they could have stolen the red and gotten 2 turrets, then that would have been really good. You can see they were all going to base, but then they realized that EG is probably rushing for the Baron, so they can't all base. You can see Chaox at 001 with 256 CS, and Graves at 000 with 272 CS. Interestingly, he's purchased a Banshee Veil rather than a Quicksilver Sash. And Swain getting a Death Cap instead of a Zhonya's. I sort of thought he would be going for Zhonya's. But he hasn't finished the death cap, whereas Leblanc has finished hers. I'm certain this is going to be a Quicksilver. Chaox has said in the past that he has bought Banshee Veil like maybe twice ever. He just buys Quicksilver every time. So it'll be really interesting to see if he goes, if he grabs Banshee Veil. Almost a steal there again. Very on target with those Ezreal ults, just not quite getting it done. See, the Rylai's has finished on Akali, and she has this MR cloak, which I'm sort of wondering about. Okay, it's going to be a GA, I guess. No real new items on the Udyr. He's got a Spirit Visage, but his farm has sort of slacked off, whereas Teemo has finished this Mallet, and there's this Death Cap, and then they have 2 Shirelias on Skarner and Sona. I wonder if that was intentional or not. I expect it was, but 2 Shirelias is really interesting. They feel like they're going to need that movement buff a lot. Shirelias is very good on both of those heroes. Teemo going next for, that's probably a Blood Razor. Both teams gearing up for a Baron fight. They're using the oracles there. Neither oracles has died since it was bought, incidentally. But they're using the oracles to clear mushrooms before the fight, which is critical because if the mushrooms are slowing down your approaches. TSM doing a very smart thing. They know they're safe for like 10 seconds there, so they take that opportunity to just push out the wave. The more you can keep those lanes pushed, like the bottom lane is pushing hugely for blue right now, so eventually TSM is going to have to dedicate someone to that lane, which is going to give a temporary numbers advantage. So the more you can keep those lanes pushed, especially mid lane like that, when you're doing the Baron fight, the more someone's going to have to be back here taking care of it, and the more you can force fights or just grab Baron while the other team's out of position. You can see solo mid's gold is pushing ahead considerably. They've caught up in CS. Yep, they've pretty much caught up in CS and are pulling ahead, and those earlier gold per 5s actually made a big difference to Sona's gold, as I was talking about earlier. Oh, nice, getting Swain down to half, just with some very, very quick harassment damage from Leblanc there. It's one of the things she's good at, is just she can put out a big nuke and then 30 seconds later do it again. All very safely because she can blink out. Sort of wondering what each team is going to grab next. I mean, the ones who are building items seem obvious, but I expect we're going to be seeing an Aegis next from this Sona, and from Skarner maybe a Frozen Heart. You see that a lot. Udyr's reached a point in his build that a lot of Udyrs hit where they have trouble. I'm almost certain we're going to be getting a Shirelias next out of this Soraka. That's like usual, and you especially need a Shirelias if the other team has a Shirelias. And when the other team has to counter position, because the speed buff is very good for those positioning. Oh, they knocked down Graves' Banshee Veil. And that's sort of why Quicksilver Sash is a little bit better. Even though I personally buy Banshee Veil mostly because I don't trust myself to use the Quicksilver Sash properly. But just the Banshee Veil has such a long cooldown on that effect. Well, looks like they're going for this dragon, and TSM are immediately going for the Baron. I really like this decision. They're going to force a really good fight here. Yeah, and they're going to be able to catch out EG. No, okay, EG just going to transition back to pushing mid. That's quite clever. Oh, if TheOddOne can get a good flash there. No, not quite. His speed buff ran out slightly earlier than I was expecting. He could maybe have caught that Swain, which would have been really good. Each team has all their important spells up. No one's used any summoners. So this next fight is going to be it. Like, this is going to be the For All the Marbles fight. And there's TSM doing it. Going for that Baron when they pushed EG out of position. They're going to be able to take this out. Reginald going to zone. Oh, nice. Nice Graves ult hits everyone. Dyrus taking a lot of damage, and Xpecial's going to go down first. Reggie misses that chain, and Westrice takes out... Oh, they did not get Dyrus. Okay. But Chaox picks off Westrice, so 2 for 1, and TSM picks up the Baron, so big advantage to them. Reggie hits that chain and is not going to be able to take out Dinh. Good blocks there by Salce. Yeah, so he's definitely going to die. Oh, that was interesting. I guess he expected Chaox to blink onto him. And that ult may hit. No, okay. Not quite. And the Banshee Veil had just come up anyways. But they're going to get this blue buff too. So they actually got 2 kills in the Baron and stole blue. And they're probably going to be able to take Dragon as well if they want to. Looks like they're not going to. They're just going to get Chaox that free farm time, which also makes a lot of sense. They're also giving Chaox the blue buff now. So I guess they just wanted to get him a little stronger before they started handing him buffs, which makes sense. See Teemo with that interestingly Bilgewater Cutlass, so he's getting a Gunblade next. That's bizarre and kind of cool. He's going to be going for a sort of a hybrid Teemo build. Free Dragon for EG, so that helps them a little bit come back from that last defeat. Chaox not finishing out that Quicksilver, finishing out the Bloodthirster instead. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, with Bloodthirster Triforce, he's pretty strong compared to Graves, who actually has like not that much damage with just Bloodthirster Zeal Wriggles. Like, that hits pretty hard, but compared to Bloodthirster Triforce Wriggles, it's a little bit spent just maybe a bit too much on that Banshee Veil too early. It's all going to come down to where the Graves ult and Ezreal ult hit, I think, is a big chunk of their AoE, of both teams' AoE. TheRainMan just doing some split pushing, while Chaox farms mid. And they're sending TheOddOne pot, so they're just going to keep all the lanes pressured, and then they're eventually going to pressure all the lanes, wait for EG to have to get out of position, and then they're going to make for a big push mid. Yeah, so they can see Akali is already out of position. He's just poking Salce there. Chaox just poking Salce with his Q. Oh, nice. He knocks down that Banshee Veil. That's really important in these pre-fight moments, is to try to knock down those veils. It means that the first important spell is going to hit instead of the second one. You're going to be able to steal this red buff. Having Baron gives you free reign to do stuff like this. And now they have double buff on Chaox, so he's really strong. And they've got good ward coverage throughout pretty much the whole of EG's jungle. Sort of funny for me, saying EG, because EG is usually evil geniuses in the North American pro gaming scene, like for StarCraft and stuff. Even Dota. So I sort of always trip up when I'm like, hang on, that's not actually EG, but it is still. So, Epic Gaming. You can see that Leblanc's CS is not good. She's very low. They've been giving all their farm to their other lanes. And to their jungler even. So they're slightly down on CS overall, but it's not as far down as it looks. Sona getting this blasting wand, which I wonder what that's going to go into. I think a DFG would be cute. She may be going Death Cap or Rylai's. I don't play much support, so I actually don't know what the late game options for supports are. They do knock down that Banshee Veil again, as they're just going to try to siege this turret. Oh, they're catching out Chaox. Oh, this is going to be huge. Brilliant flash by Dyrus. They do knock down. Alright, in this chase, we see Chaox doing a ton of damage as he just backs up and backs up and backs up. They knock down that GA, but it's still 2 for 1. They got Soraka. Chaox doing a lot of poke damage. They may be able to go in for it, but Reggie missing that chain, Chaox missing that Q, but that mushroom that's going to get them a bunch of kills here, I think. Chaox picking off Akali, getting exhausted, having to blink out, having to flash away, killing Udyr, continuing to go. Teemo still in the mix. Really nice control by Chaox, kiting that whole team around, and he's even going to be able to just pick off Dinh here, I think. I think they're strong enough that he can just win. Oh, not if he tanks that. Nice shot, even through the blind. And RainMan is going to go down to Salce here, so Salce with the clean-up double kill. Very even exchange, really well played by everybody. Beautiful flash by Dyrus to start that, but then incredible control by Chaox, kiting the whole team around that whole time, just poking and poking with his Ezreal Q, getting a ton of damage up. You see solo mid supporters there. Pretty pleased. That actually didn't go that well for solo mid, because they had that Baron buff. So even though I think they went, I think the teams went 4 for 4 there. When you have Baron buff, going even is not that good. And it looks like Epik is going to try for this Baron. I don't know if they can get it. Oh, not if Akali gets caught. Oh, gorgeous Sona ult, but where did everyone go? Why did they leave? Okay, they had 2 out of position. But that was beautiful with that Baron delay. It cost them 2 ults, but it cost the other team a whole bunch too. And now with their whole team here, they don't have Skarner ult, they don't have Sona ult. They did get Teemo caught by that chains. Chaox focusing the Udyr, now getting to switch to the Graves. And they take down TheOddOne. Chaox still poking from the side. He needs to be poking more, I think, though. Yeah, so they lose Sona there, too. Reggie barely escaping. It's a lot harder for Chaox when he doesn't have red buff. And it looks like they're going to be giving up this Baron. Soraka's rebought her oracles. Nice ultimate, gets them all pretty low. So maybe Chaox and RainMan can delay this. Still poking away at Dinh. And Reggie's back, although so is Salce. Reggie's going to be able to pick off Soraka at least. No! Really fast silence. Really well played there. Beautiful. That's going to cost TSM mid-inhib, I think, giving up Baron and a kill. 40 seconds until Reginald gets back. Yeah, they're going to give up probably mid-inhib and the dragon is what I would be aiming for as Epik. TheOddOne delaying, but oh, Westrice goes in. TheOddOne goes in with the kidnap on Akali. Chaox getting silenced, and that really sucks if you're Ezreal. Team taking basically no damage here because of their high resistances in Soraka. And they get mid-turret. Reginald's back up in 10 seconds though, so they're just going to back up and take that blue and the dragon, probably. And that's putting Epik into a much more convincing lead. You can see a bunch of important items have been finished by both teams in this last exchange also. We've got a Void Staff and a Death Cap now on Swain, and he's going for that Zhonya's. We've got Phantom Dancer finished for Graves, and he just picked up his last Whisper. Akali has finished her GA and Death Cap. Udyr now has his Shurelya's, as well as Soraka with her Shurelya's. And 2 stacks of wards. Really nice there. Chaox has finished his last Whisper and his Quicksilver, so he's maxed. Still not seeing what that Blasting Wand is for from Sona. But with the Randuins and Force of Nature finished on Skarner, so that's really good. That gives him an extra slow and makes him faster. No new items for Leblanc, interestingly. She's still at Death Cap, Deathfire Grasp. And it's going to go for Void Staff next, almost certainly. Skarner picking up that Oracles there. And yeah, the Gunblade finished on Teemo. So all in all, items in favor of EG, gold ahead for them, because they got that Baron, they got all those kills. They took top outer turret just from the minion pressure, and they're going to be able to just poke down this inhib, I think, while their Baron lasts. That's going to be a free middle inhibitor for them. Oh, nice, good kidnap. Kidnapping the Graves, that's important. And Akali is going to not die. That's amazing. Akali living in the middle of all of that somehow, just getting invised, I guess. Chaox still with no red buff is in much worse shape. Leblanc missing her nukes there. But they did force Akali back. They could maybe try to engage, but the mid inhib went down and the top turret's going to fall now. And it looks like EG is just going to be able to siege out this game and take a win. And although I was shit-talking this Ezreal pick at the beginning, like Ezreal helped them a lot, but I feel like Ezreal was only good because they were losing fights, and maybe if they'd had a Caitlyn or something that can stand and fight a little better, then they wouldn't have needed that ability of Ezreal to play while losing. And they would have maybe picked up some wins here. I think just this team has too much stand and fight capability with that Swain and that Graves, both of whom just get so strong by being in the thick of things, whacking away at people. As well as Udyr, who obviously is an unstoppable force. He's finished his Aegis, incidentally, so that's his next item, which I should have known, because that's a pretty common one. They're grabbing that blue. They don't steal TSM's red, though, which I think maybe they should have. TSM going to go push out mid and then pick up that red and then try to force one last fight before this lane pressure gets to them too much, I think, although they're having a lot of trouble top. Yeah, they had to send TheOddOne back to clear top. Chaox heading for the red, gonna pick that up. He needs to base because he has no mana. See this cloth armor on Teemo, so I guess he's going Blood Razor next. He sort of has to. Teemo really needs that Blood Razor. I feel like that Gunblade kind of sucked, and is giving them no damage in these fights from Teemo. I feel like a Blood Razor would have been a much better decision. So all in all, I think it's just a couple poor itemization choices and maybe just getting outpicked a little bit that are costing TSM this game. Although I wouldn't count them out yet. There's still time for a massive comeback. Oh yeah, the caster pointing out the second Bloodthirster there on Graves. I'm not sure I like that decision that much. I mean, I guess you switch out the Wriggles for a Bloodthirster is the best item to get off that Wriggles. I don't know, I guess that's not that bad. It just makes him very fragile. Swain has that Zhonya's, so now is a great time for them to push. See Skarner going in, getting exhausted, grabbing Graves, so that's really nice, but Graves gets a blink backwards, and then Chaox is just getting hardcore focused here. Oh, but actually playing that to perfection, gets out, but it's just not enough. The other team's too strong. Salce has too much damage, and they can't all get out. So Epic Gamer taking this one. And that's the first game of the finals in this winner bracket finals for MLG Providence. Goes to Epic Gamer. This is a best of 3. So I will probably do the next 2 if I can find a good recording of them. You see in this post-game screen, I'm going to pause this, that in the final count, we have 10 and 4 on Akali, and just getting all those kills on Akali made a big difference also. And 6 and 1 on Ezreal, just because, as I was saying, Chaox was playing those fights brilliantly. He ends with the highest gold in the game, with 446 CS to Graves' 420. Just so much gold on those AD carries. Is the way these games tend to go. But I think TSM just put themselves in a position where they didn't have the damage and didn't have the tanking capabilities to win these fights. Skarner got set behind kind of early, as did Leblanc, so she could never scale the way, like, Leblanc didn't snowball the way Akali does. And Leblanc is not very good late game, and they just didn't have the late game damage to deal with this, but I don't think they had the early game pressure to just crush their lanes either. I feel like they were going to lose 2 out of 3 of their lanes and get outsped in the jungle, and then just be in deep trouble when it came to late game, and LeBlanc doesn't scale very well. And I think this poor choice of the Gunblade by Teemo just really put them behind. So that's more or less why they lost. We're going to see what they can do to pick this back up. If they can, I think they're playing this game for not dropping to the loser bracket. So the loser of this game goes on to play. I forget which team it was in the losers bracket, and then the winner of that game goes on to play the winner of this game in the finals. So the loser of this game could go on to play the other team again in the finals if that's what ends up happening. So this isn't the end for either of these teams, since they've gone undefeated through this tournament so far. Or I think it's an yeah, because it's a double elimination tournament. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe. All of those things I appreciate, and it'll help me get you new content. I'm not like a huge fan of the spectator mode where I don't control the camera commentaries. I enjoy doing them, and I really like watching the pros play, but it's difficult when I don't control the camera, and when I don't, when I have to talk about the information that they're giving me. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. GG.